So to start out your Scratch movement and looks challenge, you need to add a backdrop. You need to add in 3 different sprites. I chose this backdrop which just shows you what the X and Y coordinates are for your Scratch scene. So in the middle of the screen is the coordinate 0, 0, much like graph paper. If I followed the y-axis all the way up, I'd be at positive 180. If I followed it all the way down to the bottom, I'd be at negative 180. The x-axis takes me from negative 240 to positive 240. So those are just good numbers to remember. And then now I'm actually going to change my background to a space scene because I'm creating a space scene. So I have my stage, I have my 3 sprites. Now, you have to make sure that each of your sprites has at least one costume that it's going to change into. So I click on Kieran, my astronaut, come up here to costumes, and as I can see, he was already loaded with a number of different costumes, so that's good. If I check out my rocket ship, again, a lot of costumes that I can switch him between so he looks like he's moving. Lastly, we have the star. The star doesn't have an extra costume, but that's not a problem at all. We can easily right-click and duplicate. Now I'm just going to change the color of this. So if I go over to fill, I can choose, do I want a different gradient fill? Do I want a solid fill? I'm going to choose a gradient fill. I'm going to make it in the pink scheme. And then I'm just going to come over to Paint Bucket and fill it in. Now I can switch between the two and it looks like it's changing colors. So first thing you need to make sure is that you have the backdrop and that you have 3 different sprites, each with a different costume that you can change into. Motion into each of our sprites. We are going to be going over here to the motion tab. We're going to be using the move 10 steps block, the glide block, and the change Y by. As you can see, there's many other ways that you can get your sprite to move, and you can feel free to play around with those, but these are the 3 that are required for the assignment today. So let's start off. We're on the astronaut. I am going to have him move 10 steps. When I click on that, you can see he does move small increments because 10 steps is only 10 pixels, and that's very small on that screen. Remember the backdrop that I had showed you before, the X and Y grid. So moving 10 is very small. Let's go back to our main background and go back to the code for him. So he's over here. I want him to move to the left. So I actually want to make this negative 10. Actually, I'm going to make it negative 20 because I want him to move it in a little bit larger increment. Now when I do this, he does move a little bit faster. Now I want him to move and change costume. So I'm going to go to look, and I'm going to go to next costume. When I repeat that, it goes over and over. Now, I want to have him repeat that. So I am going to go to Control, and I'll have it repeat. Let's try 10 times, see how that works. All right, so that worked, but it worked really fast. So I might want to add a wait 1 second or maybe half of a second in between it. Let's drag him back over here. Now it looks like he is gliding, or not gliding, but he's moving across space, and he ended up there. So I might need to make it happen. Let's try 18 times. Again, I'm going to have to drag him over here because he doesn't reset, and have him do that. And that is looking pretty good. The only thing that I'm missing is that he does not reset, which means he remains where he leaves off. So if I were to start this again, he continues and goes off the screen, which is not what I want. So I'm going to grab him. Notice as I grab and move somebody that the X and Y coordinates change. So that's a good start for him to start off on. He's at 162 and for X coordinate and 6 for a Y coordinate. So I'm going to go back over to motion, and I want to make sure that he goes, and look at those numbers match up. So when he starts the scene, he goes there. It's going to repeat that 18 times. And then if I were to restart it, he goes back, which is exactly what I want. Good. So I have just used the move steps block. Now I'm going to use the glide feature. So I'm going to go to my star. I'm going to do, because now we know that we want it to start off in the same position. So I'm going to go to, make sure it's at the same numbers. It is. So when I start my scene, my star goes off here. I am going to have it glide. Now, where do you want it to glide to? We're not going to have it glide to the same position, but I do want it to glide over across here. So if I go over there, we can see that the x-coordinate is about 188. So I'm going to do 188. Keep the y-coordinate the same. So if I restart it, I'm going to have both things going, and it glides. Excellent. Now I want it to switch costume once it gets there, and then I want it to glide back. So I'm going to duplicate this. It changed colors. Excellent. Now I want to go back to the starting position. So I just look up what I have over here, the negative 185. Perfect. And if I wanted to loop that, I could. If I wanted that to continue going, I could have that do it forever. So now I have someone moving by steps. I have somebody gliding. The last thing I need to do is I need to have something change its y-axis. So instead of moving side to side, it's moving up and down. That's what I'm going to do to my rocket ship. So again, I'm going to have my rocket ship start off in the position it's at, because that's where I want it to be. And I'm going to have it change y by. So it is going to go, right now it would be moving up 10 pixels. I know I want it to be more than that. I know I want it to be more like up here. And that's at 69, and that was 169. So we're going to have it move by like 130. Let's take an estimate. If I start it, I didn't ever drag it back to the beginning. Whoops. All right. See, it will change by 130. Okay, so I started off here. I'm going to actually want it to change by more than 130. I'll try it by, let me try it by 330. Drag it down. Okay, a little bit too high. Let's try 280. Trying it down, start it, there we go. Now, the reason you don't see this actually moving is because there's no weight in between here. So it actually does go down to the bottom, but it moves up so fast that you don't see it. So I want to add a weight 1 second in between there. Now watch this. Now you see it move. And then I want it to change costume after it's changed its Y value. There you go. Now I have all three of my features working. I could choose to have the spaceship go back. I could choose to have it go up, wait, and then disappear. But here's where you can have it hide. Now if I go like this, blast off, and then it goes away. So once you've met the requirements, then I want you to go over here, check out your rubric. Did you change the background? If you did, I know I fully met the requirements, so I'm going to go over here, go to the paint bucket. I'm just going to pick a color to fill it in with. That tells me that you have looked at the rubric and you have met the requirements. Go through, did I add 3 sprites? Does each sprite have at least 2 costumes? Go through all of these and then total up how many points you think that you have earned. Once you are all done, you are going to hit share, and then you're going to get the share link, and you are going to turn that in your Google Classroom. So have fun, be creative, and I'm looking forward to seeing your projects.